right. Happy Aloha Friday. I forgot to tell you, Amphi, today is Friday. Just we so our listeners here, you know what, we're gonna part the curtain for a second. We don't record these on a Friday, we record them on a different day. And we are actually located 50 feet under the ground in a bunker. We're not actual real people, we're just avatars. No, no, no. He's in
And Attilio is frozen. So I'm going to do a quick little intro for our very special guest that we have today. He's a member of the Hawaii State Bar Association, graduated from the University of Hawaii, finished a BA in sociology, master's in social work, and then a doctorate at the William S. Richardson School of Law. He spent more than 20 years in social work advocating for children who are in the foster care system and is committed to helping families build strong financial foundations. Please welcome our guest, Amphay Champathong.
Thank you,
All
Adrian.
right.
Thank you, Attilio.
Welcome. Yeah, so every day is Friday. That's our new mindset. Every day is Aloha Friday.
Happy Aloha
Right.
Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday. So, Amphi, tell us about, let's start off with the basics. As simple as you can explain it to our viewers, because we only have about 18, 19 more minutes to talk about it. But what is a trust?
So a trust is a contract. It's actually an agreement made between three parties. You have the grantor, who's the person that actually sets up the trust. You have the trustees. The trustee would be responsible for administering the trust. And lastly, you have the beneficiary. The beneficiary, simple as what it says, would be the beneficiaries of the trust.
Yeah.
And there are different types of trusts. What we work with when we talk about estate planning, primarily that's going to be what we call a revocable living trust.
And tell us about revocable. Why is that word in there, revocable?
Revocable becomes important because it's all about control. The point of creating an estate plan is the idea of, well, for me, fundamentally, it's really about liberties. The idea that we control when we're alive and well, all of our financials, all of our affairs. When something happens to us, how ourselves and our family will be taken care of. And then also when we pass away, what should happen to those things that we've worked so hard to build and, hopefully leave a legacy for our families. So it's revocable because now when the grantors create this trust, the idea is they can now do whatever they need to do with regards to what they've funded or put into their trust.
And Adrian's got a question.
So Amphy, who should have a trust? Like, who's the ideal candidate to create these trusts?
That's so
Or should everyone have one?
Well, that's the thing though. When we talk about misconceptions, that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions. Because somehow, because of, I don't know if it's the news or the media, and we see this all the time, right? Famous people, hundreds of millions of dollars in their state, and everybody's fighting all over this. And it's like watching the soap operas, like those Young and the Restless. And people think that, estate planning is for the ultra rich. And to me, I would argue it's actually much, much more important for our modest families. Like Attilio said, it's really about families. And why I say that is this: whether you're ultra rich or you have a modest income, like say a family that has a house that has a couple accounts, okay, the cost, if you don't properly plan, the likely consequences is going to probate. And probates are expensive. It takes a lot of time, a lot of resources. Now, if you're ultra rich, right, you have millions of dollars in your estate, like what is $50,000-$60,000 in the event something gets litigated? Whereas for a modest family, that's wasted resources that could be going to your children and your family.
So Amphy, on the cost of a probate, on average, how much of the estate is eaten away based on this, very
And how much time?
process?
And how much time?
Time and money. How much does it typically cost?
And I'm gonna make it really simple and just and this is very conservative. Let's just, for the sake of easy math, for me, because math is not my strong point. So let's keep it like at 5,000, and that's being very, very modest. Okay, just to open a simple probate is actually much more expensive than that. Okay, will cost. Okay, it's actually about 6 to 8,000, and then now that's a simple probate. When I say simple, what it means is everybody is in agreement. There are no problems with what's happening with probate. Okay. Now, in the event that it becomes contested, you're going to run into a lot of issues, and it's going to be very expensive. A simple probate, when you talk about time, okay, takes anywhere from 9 months to a year. And again, I'm being very generous with the time. It takes longer than that. Okay, and then again, I use the word simple, and then simple is not what we would think is as simple as what it is. That sounds funny, but it is. So,
yeah. Well, spending the time to create a trust is a much simpler way of helping out the family after you pass than by letting it go into probate. So a lot of times we're dealing with real estate transactions where someone has passed away. The first thing we ask is the property in a trust, or we look it up because it's indicated in the tax records. And then we start asking the questions: who's the beneficiary, who's the executors? Because and I've seen this with personal family where the mother passes away, and dad passed away already, but the mother passes away, and I think even in most of the beneficiaries typically are going to be the kids, right? And even when the kids get along, there's always going to be something that wasn't really clearly spelled out on what the wishes were of the deceased that turns into a debate, an argument, bad feelings. I think for me personally with my trust, I've spelled it out, and my kids know who's getting the yo-yo collection. They're not having to figure it out. Talk about the parts of the trust. I know it's just in my binder, but let's talk about the other parts that are in there that give peace of mind to the person who's making it, that everything is going to be in order and done in the way that they wish it to be. So what are the other parts of the trust?
Attilio, I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because that's one of the things that I really, pride. Well, when I look at what we do here at our firm and our approach to estate planning, exactly like what you said, we really come from an educational approach when we work with families. The idea is we want them to know, and then to be aware of, the things that are contained within their estate plan, so that when they do make decisions, it's informed decisions. And funny you say that, because that's a conversation that we had about, some clients coming to our firm to review their plans, and they have no idea what's in it, And so one of the things that's really unique about, us here at Estate Planning Group is we do take the time, to work with families so that they understand. And then more importantly, like the why. You had mentioned that, like, we don't want people to fight, and then again, if we don't set up and plan, that's the thing that's going to happen when it goes to probate. Most of the time, because the thing is this: if you don't do your estate planning, okay, and you don't provide instructions and your wishes, and really not even your wishes, is basically what you want to see happen, the exercise of control again, it will be probated. Somebody else, meaning the state of Hawaii, will tell you what's going to happen. And you know what? I talk about traditional families, like the nuclear family 20, 30 years ago was, right, husband, wife, and children. You talk about nuclear families today, it's more than likely blended families. So when you talk traditional family, the state of Hawaii laws usually, would get it right in that situation, meaning husband, wife, children, property, whatever else, right? But if you look at today's family, when you have blended families, you married, there's children, other child, more than likely what you think is going to happen with your assets is not going to happen. It's going to be something else, and that's that whole invitations of a fight, and very costly, very time consuming. And bottom line for me, the worst thing is you you will break a family forever where they would never talk to each other again. But that's really how important this is in terms of planning.
Adrian,
So,
what do you like about parts of your trust that you can share as a first-hand experience with our viewers?
well, I had a question about the will.
Go ahead.
Like, why is a will not enough? Like, why do you have to have your will or your wishes in a trust? Like, what is that about? I know that it can be kind of confusing to maybe, someone who's not familiar with this process.
What's the difference of will versus a trust?
That's another misconception that people have. I ask when I, talk about estate planning, and the question is because who has an estate plan? And well, surprisingly, a minority of people will raise their hands, and then a little bit more questioning, and it becomes, oh, well, I have a will. Yeah, and then I go, a will in itself is not enough with regards to what we call a proper estate plan. Because the misconceptions with wills is two main things. The first thing is a will is only effective upon the passing of the person that created the will. Okay, meaning, if in the event they become incapacitated or they're not able to make decisions, the will can do absolutely nothing to help them in that situation. Okay? The second misconception that people have with wills is that a will still needs to be probated. So the same drawbacks that you have with regards to probate will apply if you only had a will. Okay, so I'm not saying a will is not necessary. A will is just one piece of like the whole bigger part of what we call like an essential comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Because there are certain
And I know.
things like a will can do that a trust is
Yeah.
not able to do. Like when you talk about naming guardians, like
Yeah.
your trust doesn't allow for that. Another thing a will can do is allow you to provide like memorial instructions or for your loved ones when you pass away. However, are we still on? I just lost
Yep.
my
Yeah,
No, you're
audience.
still
we're just
going.
highlighting you,
We're
Amphi.
just
Oh,
highlighting you so people
okay.
can see. Keep going.
So I was saying, we're allowing those things to happen. So it's really more of that.
Yeah.
Now that's just one part of the bigger whole.
Well, and Adrian, I'll share what I like about my trust binder, and you share what you like about yours. One, I like that there's a healthcare directive in it, a section in there for healthcare directives. So I put in there, I have money to give you kids. Don't step on my oxygen line, okay? I put that in there. I'm just kidding. But there's was a DNR, do not resuscitate. I have that in there. I've got the will. I've got what I want for my services. All of that stuff is in there, so that's one less thing that my kids have to worry about should something happen to me. And then I do look in both directions before I step off the curb, and I'm especially looking for buses because I don't want to get hit by a bus.
But
But
we do
Adrian,
have good insurance on you though, in case.
yeah. But what do you like about your trust? What peace of mind does it give you, Adrian?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna obviously be updating it as I get
Yeah.
older. But as of now, what I like is like if I were to pass away tomorrow, like there's all sorts of rules in there as far as like with
When they
my
can get the money.
kids, as far as how much money they'll get, what they have to do to get the money, like things like if they misbehave, they're going to be just completely shut out. So
Yeah.
like it's like there's all these different things that you can put into place to make sure that they just don't get like a ton of money and blow it.
Yeah. So, and then Amphi, explain to us, how does a trust avoid probate? What is the legal mechanism that makes that happen?
So again, because you're actually the trust itself, well, it's in our laws, in our statute with regards to your trust and probates. And then now the trust. So the key thing here is when the trust in itself, right? Again, like I said, it's an agreement that we have amongst three parties. The most important thing with the trust is the matter of how we fund. So the idea now, when you create a trust, you basically want to also fund your trust, put the assets, put the property into trust. And by doing that, essentially the trust now owns your property, owns the assets. Okay. You, though, maintain control because you are the trustee of that
Yeah.
trust. And
Yeah.
then you also are the beneficiary. So in that event, you wear all three hats, but you don't own, like per se, own the property. However, you're exercising full control of that. So I
What's
like when you talk about like peace. I'm sorry, like the idea
yeah.
of peace of mind. I know
Yeah.
this is really the value of creating this like your estate plan. Like for me, I take really like I'm passionate about this because I know when you talk about helping families, like when we are done, like say when we're done with the estate plan, I know that the thing that they have in front of them is going to alleviate so much fighting, so much as they're going through the grieving process of life circumstances. This becomes now something that says everything's here, everything's in place, everything's in order. You know, like we don't have to worry about these things. Let us go through the grieving process.
Yeah.
So, Amphy, maybe you could share with our viewers an example or like maybe a success story of when someone had a trust, and then also, you know, on the flip side where they did not have a trust. Just give us some examples of some families that you have worked with.
That's agent. That's like a daily basis, you know, that we have. It's amazing, you know, like in this work. And I use amazing not in the way of being not sensitive to what our families are going through as they lose a loved one or their loved one is now incapacitated. So we do trust administration here, and families come with a lot of questions about what are they going to do next, and just being able to guide them becomes so important. So that's like one of those questions where I'm not gonna be able to. You know, when you talk about success stories, every single family that's come to us and wanting our help, we've helped them.
Yeah.
The other question you had is also the same. I mean, the stories like I just it's just you know I have families that forever will not speak to each other ever again, and this is the saddest part. They live on a duplex, like you know the brother live upstairs, other brother lives downstairs, and they will not speak to each other again or their children.
Yeah.
So Tilio kind of talked about advanced healthcare directives and the idea that I as the person that's writing this advanced healthcare directive will give instructions as to what is my decisions with regards to end of life. So like this particular family I'm going to talk about is this. So imagine you have 6 siblings. Mom is now in a permanent vegetative state. Okay, 100% she's not going to come back. Okay, somebody's going to have to decide what to do next. Okay,
Yeah.
are we going to pull the plug? Are we going to leave her on the ventilators? Or like who's going to make that decision now? Can you imagine being that sibling that says, mom wants this thing, wants to go respect her this, but yet nothing's been memorialized. And then now imagine your brothers and sisters tell you, why would you do that? Why would you kill mom?
Yeah.
This is the situation. So we have 3 siblings that agreed with a client that says we should let her go. Another 3 said, no, you will be. And then now, do you think this family would ever have a first birthday, a luau? I mean, it's just, anyways. I just,
Well, with the document, it's mom who makes the decision that says, you know, if after a week and I am considered brain dead, or after a day, you know, there's no brain activity, go ahead and let me go on to glory. And then nobody in the family that's living has to be the bad person and create that rift between the family because it was mom's wishes. And then don't you think? And then for the people watching this who don't have a trust, don't you think that would be a much easier, more loving conversation and take the pressure off your loved ones if they said, this is what mom or dad wanted. It's here in writing. And we don't have to make that difficult choice. I think that alone should be the reason why someone should get a trust. Now, let's talk turkey. Even though Thanksgiving was far behind us, what kind of costs are we looking at? That's the first, people are thinking, well, you know, I need to do it. I think people are hesitant to do it because it puts into reality the immortality that we are all facing. We're all leaving this planet the same way. We're all going to die. That's the one commonality all human beings have in common with. But what kind of costs are we looking at?
So as I
Or
mentioned
investment?
earlier, there are different like levels of planning that we do
Yeah.
here. Most of our families do two levels of planning. The first one is what we call an essential plan. And as it says, essential, the idea of it is to have a complete estate plan that avoids all of the court interventions, the probates, conservatorships, and guardianships. So with that, for a single person individual, we charge 1,800, and then for a family, our fee is 2,900, and that's a flat rate regardless of how much customizations that the family wants to make. For our next level of planning, which is a family plan, which we charge 2,500 for a single person and 3,900 for a family. And the difference between the two is, first, of course, avoid the probates, avoid the court intervention, but more importantly, it offers an opportunity for us to design it and then offer creditor protections, none of the outright distribution. So all these things we'll discuss with families. So.
And I just want to speak to your pricing. I won't say who, but the first time I had mine done, it was like 3 times or maybe almost 4 times that amount. So what you're providing is a great value, and I know that your heart and soul goes into these plans and your connections with the families, and like that is I think this is a very affordable
and the best
investment.
Testimonial that I can give is that you guys did mine, and that my dad remarried a couple of years ago, and I was talking with Mary Leonardi, and I was telling her why I have a trust and why we put it in place. She says, I need to do that. And then I went on a trip, and then as soon as I got back, I put her in touch with you guys, and you guys are working through this as we speak, because I think especially in Hawaii, people think, like you said in the beginning, they got to be like multimillionaires to have a trust. But the average cost of a single family home on Oahu is north of $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you own nothing else but the roof over your head, here's what we tell all of our clients with the real estate when it comes to the kids. There's no way you're going to divide a house with one chainsaw and give all the kids one equal physical part of the home. But can you clearly determine who's going to have use of it? And should something happen to that person and you need to sell, is it very clearly spelled out what's going to happen with the proceeds? Because 9 times out of 10, the kids already have a place to live. They don't necessarily want to move back into the home, but they want the benefit of the proceeds to go and help their own kids or whatever's going on in their life, or paying off their mortgage. And it would be so much easier for the family dynamics and the well-being if it was clearly spelled out by mom, dad, or whoever is that. I still remember from real estate too, grantor is the guy or the gal behind the door.
Yeah.
That's how I remember. Grantor is behind the door. So, but Adrian, you had a question?
Well, I just want to
Wrapping it up.
Yeah, thank you, Amphy, for being on our Friday Live, and we're looking forward to having you on our radio show as well to help remind and educate our listeners about how important this is. And we hope that they reach out and at least have a conversation.
Okay, the information is right there on the bottom of the screen. You should give Amphy a call, send him an email. He's very good and responsive to his communication. I can speak firsthand from that. And Amphy, when they first call to set up a consultation, when they first meet with you, it's something like $5,000, right, for the first hour to sit down.
Oh no, I actually I go back on the education piece.
Yeah.
Like for me, I actually go and visit families.
Oh, nice.
So I don't well, personally, I'm not going to say it for my other partners and stuff, but for me, I enjoy meeting with families. Like I said, this work is about relationships and about families. So, that point about, we offer, our consultations are free. Like again, the emphasis is really on education. And then now, hopefully, when families understand the consequences of when they don't plan properly, then we can move forward now and have something that's going to be customized and meeting their needs. So.
Yeah. So I want to share this one last thing with our viewers. For those of you out there that have taken PSI, if it's a personal self-improvement institute, and it is a personal self-growth that all three of us have gone through at many levels and requires a serious commitment of time and money. And so that alone is the reason why we completely 100% trust Amphy with our clients. And by the way, if you're somebody out there where you've had friends or relatives that have gone through PSI or PSI, and they're telling you that you should go, I call it the universal law of three. If three independent sources mention this thing, maybe you should go check it out. So that's my plug for PSI. But the last thing is, we do know that our live stream social media actually reaches people on the outer islands. You're doing it right now, but could you video conference with people on the outer islands to consult with them?
I do. Yeah. And I'll even take it one step further, Tilio. I actually enjoy going to the neighbor islands.
Oh, nice.
I use that as an excuse. My
family's
Shonda's going to listen to this. She's going to listen to this and be like, what? That's why you're going? It gives me a little break, Yeah. Like I do.
You go to the house, you go outer islands, you can do the Zoom. And the Zoom is also important, or the video conferencing is important, because we wish that when our kids get older, they all stay in Hawaii, but we know that they're all going to move Vegas. So you might have to Zoom in one of the beneficiaries from another place in the world. Some people might be in the military. I know it was very important. And when my dad and my three sisters, when we were to go over his estate planning that he did for you guys, we met at the house on a Saturday, and we spent half the day going through his document, so that all four of us siblings were clearly in alignment. And my dad was like, what about this plaque? And what about this? And what about that? And I'm like, I don't want that. And my sister's like, I'll take that. But that was nice to do that with my dad sitting at the table and not in a coffin. I tell you, it was a much more pleasant experience figuring that all out. And my dad directing traffic, and him feeling good about it, and all my siblings feeling good about it. And I will tell you, my number one plug for you people to go get a trust is peace of mind in the family. That's all I'm going to say. Boom, mic drop. No, but anyway, and it's not that expensive compared to how much assets people
invest in it. It's totally worth it.
Yeah. But thanks so much for being on the show.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All righty. And stay with us, Amphy.